Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, more specifically my first full video of the new year. So if you're one of the zero avid fans of me, you're probably wondering, hey Disaster, I thought you were going to put out that third Ace Attorney review as a new full video. Well, if you are wondering that, then you are rightfully doing so, as I did in fact say that. However, I figured I just want to try something new. I've had this channel for 2 years and it's 2022 now, so why not try something new for the new year? And also the third Ace Attorney video is still under construction. That too. I totally didn't just make this video because I wanted to stall the Ace Attorney video. Okay, so yes, I promise I'm still working on that video, and it will come out as the full video next month. But I've talked enough already, so let's get on to this video now. So, as the title states, I'm a huge rock music fan. I have a rock playlist with almost 2,000 damn songs on it, and you could probably tell from the shirts I wear, the posters I have, and the things I have said in my previous videos as well. This, of course, means that outside of a few artists and songs, I've mainly just stuck to my roots. But with the new popular music coming out, and my Instagram friends raving about it, I figured, why not try to listen to some other stuff? This is when I found Arca. If you clicked on this video and you're not one of my subscribers, you're probably an Arca fan, so I won't go into a huge explanation about who she is and what her music is. Plus, you could also just look her up on Wikipedia or Google or something, so why waste time here? Before listening to this album, I listened to a few of her more accessible songs, if you can even say that, and on my first listens to them, I'll admit I was pretty appalled. I was like, how could anyone like this? It's so fucking loud. But something kept me coming back for more, and I don't know what, but I am sure glad I came back, because with Arca, there's so much awesome stuff to discover. Eventually, I decided to listen to this album and share my thoughts on it via YouTube, the byproduct of which you are listening to or watching, most likely watching now. This is also going to be my first music review, and hopefully the first of many to come on this channel. And also for any rock music fans out there, like I was saying earlier, the albums I've listened to are mostly rock ones, so I'll be reviewing those, especially my favorite ones, so stay tuned and please subscribe. For non-rock fans, I mean, I'm gonna be reviewing more Arca albums probably and other stuff, so look out for that. So before I start, I like to mention two things. Number one, this is a purely instrumental album, aside from a few screams and noises and stuff made by Arca herself, as she didn't start singing until her 2017 self-titled album. And second of all, here's what is going to be one of the interesting parts, I hope, of this video. I do not know the first thing about music production, especially when it comes to non-rock songs, so I will be going into this album as both someone who is completely new to hyperpop, and someone who has no clue what makes production good or bad. But anyways, here's my review of Arca's Mutant. Not even a full minute into track 1 of this album, you can already tell how unique it's going to be. Alive is a beautiful and spacey song you could almost fall asleep to, yet it's also chock full of hyperpop elements, such as loud bursts of random sounds at times. It also served as a great introduction to the album and got me excited for more, making it one of my favorite tracks on this album. Also, spoiler alert, the first 5 tracks from this album were mostly my favorites, so sorry for the spoiler. Finishing up with the almost peaceful, yet not quite, first track of the album, this track comes in to violently shake you awake again with its crazy electronic breakdowns. Wouldn't want you falling asleep during this album. I'm honestly tempted to say that this is my favorite track of the album. In fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it was my favorite, just because of all of the raw energy from it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't know a damn thing about music production, but with this song, I can just tell how impressive it is. I can't even begin to imagine how much time it must have taken to put together all these crazy, almost hellish beats and still make it sound extremely fluid, nice, and in sync. So yeah, in short, this 7.5-minute scorching ball of energy was probably my favorite song off of the album, and it's one I have been listening to non-stop. Vanity, the third track of the album, is a song that's more akin to Alive than anything. That's not to say it's not unique, though, because it very much is. It's actually, ironically, a bit more energetic than Alive, and also weirdly creepy in a way. Let me just say that it prepares you for the treat that the rest of this album is. Like the 2 tracks before it, this was one of my favorites off of the album, especially looking back at it now. On my few listens I did after the first listen of the album, I've grown to like a lot of these tracks more. And then, Sinner. Oh my god, what do I even begin to say about Sinner? Imagine that you're being sent to the deepest depths of hell as sirens, drums, and other unidentifiable loud noises pierce your fucking brain. Then at the end of it all, you're swallowed by the disturbing yet admittedly badass looking creature on the album cover. However, I do mean this in the best way possible. Another one of my favorites off of this album, this hauntingly loud and intense collection of sounds slowly draws you in and really makes you want to hear more of this curious album. That's what a lot of these tracks do, honestly. I cannot say this about a lot of albums, even some of my favorites, but almost every single track on this album makes you want to hear the next one. So it propels you. My final favorite so far of the quintet of them I just barraged you with is none other than track 5, Anger. The name implies yet another ear-piercing, energetic song. However, this track is actually one that takes a little break from that to focus on Arca's musical creativity. This track is an extremely cool combination of world music, rock-influenced bass, and lots of cool distortion, and of course, hyperpop. It really should not work, but of course it's Arca and she makes it work perfectly. So, you know how I just gave you a quintet of my favorite songs from the album? Is it just me, or does this kind of resemble a quintet of albums released by the same artist who made this album? Nah, I'm probably just imagining things. This track, although not one of my favorites, was an extremely cool one. Sever is a song that combines world music with some of the creepy undertones seen in the previous songs on the album. Although not as superb as the last song I was just talking about, this one was still a cool combination of different genres and was extremely memorable. But like I said, that last track was super memorable. This one, on the other hand, wasn't. Beacon is a 48-second long track that's mainly just distortion and some creepiness thrown in. Not to say that it's bad, it's still a decent enough song, it's just pretty forgettable. But one positive thing about it is that it's a great preparation for the amazing tracks to come. Finishing up with Beacon, bam, you're thrown right into a spooky song again. This one didn't quite make my favorite track list, but it was still extremely impressive and was close to making it on there. Snakes is a song that sounds almost like music you'd hear in a horror game that lets you know that you have to fucking run and fast. It's extremely eerie, loud, and fast-paced, only to be brought by a mysterious halt at the very end. When listening to this album, I kept listening to this one over and over again. Honestly, just in awe. If you're looking for a song off of this album to really prep you for what you're getting into, check out Snakes, or Mutant. After the crazy track that was Snakes, we're brought straight to Else, a melancholic piano trick with only slight bits of hyperpop thrown in. I meant to write tune in the script, and, I didn't. Perhaps it's a funeral dirge for whoever met their unfortunate end in Snakes, or maybe it's just a sad and emotional song, but either way, it sounds absolutely beautiful. It's up to interpretation, really. My only complaint is that maybe it could have been longer, preferably long enough to replace this next track. I didn't mean to write that with a question mark in the script, but I did, and so that's, I said that. 2 mistakes in one short segment of the video. I'm doing great. So like and subscribe. Umbilical. What to say about Umbilical? I was really excited when this track popped up, hoping that I would be greeted with that awesome, creepy, and hypertone, but instead what I got was... This. Umbilical was literally the only song I disliked. The other ones didn't even come close to me disliking them off of this otherwise superb album, and left me feeling pretty damn disappointed. This track serves as the only one on my least favorite list. Tasked with bringing back the flow of the album, Him does exactly that, and admittedly not much more. One of the more forgettable tracks on this album, it's still a decent song, but it's still slightly slow and boring. Still, the spookiness of it kind of picks it up though. Luckily, my very slight disappointment did not last long, as this track came up next. Front Load is a track that sounds almost lo-fi in a way, but of course with some sudden short bursts to remind you that this is a haunting album. This is one of my favorite tracks. Yup, we're getting back into the favorite track section, and was also an awesome preparation for the next track that was to come. Afterwards. Gratitude. I think I'm saying right. It doesn't have an E on the album, so I'm assuming it's like gratitude. I don't know what I'm doing. Gratitude. What? I don't care. Is a track that really brings back the scariness of this album with a haunting and almost vampirical sound. It may be one of the slower tracks on the album, but it still keeps you on edge with sudden unexpected sounds made by a guitar. As a fellow guitarist, this is one of my favorite tracks. No, it wasn't. I read the wrong part of the script. It was really cool to hear guitar on this album, was what I meant to say. Sorry, I was too busy flexing this basic guitar to, actually read what was in the script. I'll be flexing this any chance I get. It's also one of the reasons I know less about music production, more about, rock music, which is kind of why I haven't listened to this stuff until now. Gratitude is also the start of what I like to call a trilogy of songs on this album. And picks up pretty much where Gratitude left off, but is much spookier, almost like it's a jump scare or chase scene after the suspense wait in the aforementioned previous track. Crazy and hellish noises, haunting whispers, and more combine to create this immaculate vibe. I can't believe I just said immaculate vibe. Someone please kill me. This trilogy of songs is brought to an end with Siren Interlude, a 43-second track serving as the shortest song on the album. However, it's still really good, with some cool bassy beats and police sirens amplified by Arca's great production, thrown together with some other noises to cap off what we heard on the past two songs. I gotta say, going into this track, I was a bit nervous, as I thought it was literally just going to be siren noises for 43 seconds, which obviously would not make a good song. I'm glad to say I was proven wrong though. Finishing up with the Gratitude and Siren trilogy, Extent serves as an almost calming and nice, yet still creepy and a bit too quiet, ending credits music. It's an extremely pretty song, and one of the few stunning, slower songs on this album. It's also great preparation for what this next track hits us with. As always, Arca takes a super cool and creative turn after wrapping up another segment of the album. Unlike the spooky tracks we heard before this, Enveloped gives us some nice energetic vibes that sounds almost akin to Sophie's Face Shopping. Of course, it's still unique in its own right though, with some really nice echoey guitar thrown into the mix. Arca really knocks it out of the park when she closes up this album, starting with this song. Faggot is a haunting and really synth-poppy song with some cool loud sounds and drum hits to accompany it. It was one of the more memorable songs on this album for me, and it was one of my favorite tracks. Also, just a heads up, please don't get mad at me in the comments. I can say faggot. I'm bi. I like men. So yeah. Moving on to yet another extremely memorable track, Soichiro seems like a more calm song with a bunch of hyperness battling against it. It's an extremely cool and creative mix of sounds with a cool name to boot. This is another one of my favorite tracks from the album, and was the last one. And finally, Peonies, how do I still not know how to pronounce it? Whatever. The 20th and final track of the album draws it to a close by being a really cool, haunting, ambient sort of track. As nice sounding as it is, though, it's a bit forgettable for a finale track and was a bit of a disappointment. Still a good song, it's just, I bet I'd skip it on another re-listen of this. And that was the album. I'm now realizing I'm starting off my YouTube music reviewing career with an extremely long album, but it's also an extremely good one, but whatever, so whatever. Arca is, in my opinion, one of the most creative and talented artists of this generation from what I've heard, and this album is a pure example of that. By the time this review's come out, I've probably listened to a lot of other stuff by her, especially her newer songs with vocals and stuff from like the Kick albums and her self-titled one. Some of which I've already heard, like, you know, Electra Rex, Incendio and stuff like that. Such good songs. Love them. She has a great singing voice. With tracks on this album that range from just being generally haunting to super on edge and creepy, to energizing and extremely catchy and more, Mutant has made me extremely excited for the rest of Arca's discography, a lot of which, I forgot to mention, I will probably review. To recap, my favorite tracks off this album were Alive, Mutant, Vanity, Sinner, Anger, Frontload, Faggot, and Soichiro, and the only track I disliked was Umbilical. As I said, I really, really love this album, and in my book, it's a perfect 10 out of 10. Also, in case this video somehow gets popular and attracts a lot of different types of people, I just want to say ahead of time right here that transphobia will not be tolerated at all in the comments, nor will racism or homophobia if they somehow come into the mix. Those comments will be deleted, and I will politely ask you to unsubscribe from my channel, because if you are subscribed and are homophobic and shit like that, because this channel is not the place for you. Anyways, I think that's a good a time as any to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for music reviews in the future, and even comment some suggestions below for albums that I should review if you want, or artists I should listen to. I'll be focusing on more anime and video game related views for now, and I'll probably do another music review if this album, suddenly gets popular. But yeah, for now I think I'll just focus, for example, more on Ace Attorney at this point. This has been Disaster's review of Arca's 2015 second studio album, Mutant. Love you all, have an amazing day, see you in the next one.